How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Baking World Tour. Today we're making a sweet Azerbaijani milk bread. It's so simple, but the result is really nice. It would make a great sandwich bread, a great burger bun, and it's good all on its own as well. So let's get to it. Here's what we need: some strong white bread flour, milk, a whole egg, soft butter, yeast, salt, sugar, turmeric, an egg yolk mixed with a teaspoon of milk for glazing, and some poppy seeds for sprinkling on top. When it comes to the equipment, we'll need a tray with some non-stick paper, a bowl, scales, dough scraper, temperature probe, a brush, and a fork. And as always, I'm going to use cold milk because I'm kneading this dough by hand. It's going to warm up quite a lot. So let's start making the dough. And it is so simple. You mix everything together from the get-go. Got your cold milk, the yeast, salt, sugar, the egg, the turmeric, the butter. Just drop everything in the bowl except the flour. And make sure you give it all good mix before you add the flour. You won't dissolve any large salt and sugar crystals and hydrate the yeast. If you're not a big fan of turmeric, you can reduce the amount a little bit, although this wasn't very strong. But regardless of how much turmeric you use, once you mix your ingredients, add the final ingredient, the flour. Now grab your scraper and mix this to a dough. Mix it in the bowl until there's no more dry flour left, and if the scraper is not doing the job, continue on by hand. Now we can tip it out on the table and start kneading. This dough is not too sticky, so a regular kneading method will do. What I like to do is press down and forwards with the heel of my right hand, then using the fingers of my left hand I fold the piece of dough under the heel of my right hand, then turn the dough and repeat. Once you've done this a few times, the motion will become fluent. And kneading this dough doesn't take a long time at all. Around 5 minutes should do the job. And once it's become nice and smooth, you're ready to go. And your hands might be a little bit yellow by this point, but that's fine, it's all healthy, isn't it? And that's how easy it is to make this dough. We mixed all the ingredients, kneaded it for 5 minutes. Now we can start fermenting. Pop it in a bowl and take its temperature. Around 25 to 26 degrees Celsius is what I'm after. The sugar in this dough will slow down fermentation, so having it slightly warmer is okay. Now cover it up and we'll leave it to proof for 1 hour. And after the first proof, we need to give it a fold. Folding will help with strengthening the dough. It'll also degas it, and it will equalize the temperature inside it. It's quite beneficial to take this step during bulk fermentation. And to perform a fold is super simple. Take your dough out of the bowl, place it smooth side down on the table, flatten it out, and fold the edge over the middle, going around in a circle to reach point where it started. Then flip it smooth side up again, tighten it against the table. You can pick it up, pinch the seam together at the bottom. You have a nice tight ball and your fold is done. Now pop it back into the bowl and we'll leave it to proof for 1 more hour. Of course, if your kitchen or your dough is warmer, this will take less time, so keep an eye on it. But this one's looking good to me. It's nicely puffed up. Now we can take the next step, which is already the final shaping. That's how simple this dough is. All you want to do is grab your parchment paper and measure your dough against it and simply flatten it out until it's a nice flat disc. This actually really reminds me of the Italian muffaletta bread. It's the same kind of concept. You make a dough, you ferment it, and you simply flatten it out. And at the end it turns out to be like a massive burger bun. Of course, there were some major differences. For one, the Italian one wasn't sweetened and it didn't have any turmeric in it. And it was fermented for a very long time. But the end result looks quite similar and the preparation is quite similar. And that's what I keep finding with a lot of the breads I make. The countries where these breads are from may be far apart, but they have some interesting similarities. But enough about that. So if you feel that your dough is sticking, you can dust your table and your hands with flour just a little bit. And once you've pressed it out nice and gently, nice and evenly, place it on the piece of parchment paper and place it on your tray. Now we can cover it up and leave it for the final proof. And this is really your last chance to make sure it's nice and round. At this point you can start preheating your oven, 160 degrees Celsius with a fan on. The final proof should take around 1 hour to 1.5 hours, but it all depends on the temperature of your kitchen, of course. You want it to be visibly puffed up and well fermented before baking. We want this dough to not gain a lot of volume in the oven. It should gain most of its volume while it's fermenting. This is to prevent the surface from tearing as it's baking. This one looks good to me. Now we can glaze it. And the egg yolk and milk glaze is my favorite to use on any enriched dough. It gives it such a rich color. And I'm going to show you a little trick that you can use when glazing any bread for that extra richness. A double glaze basically. What you want to do is brush your loaf all over, then leave it to dry for 5 minutes, and then brush it again. And that's your double glaze. There are actually many different glazes that can be used for bread, and I'm planning to make a video on this in the future. It might be quite interesting. Okay, so after glazing, give it a good healthy sprinkling of poppy seeds. And of course you could use different seeds for this. But poppy seeds, they're the classic. But this could go quite well with some sesame seeds. Now there's one more thing we need to do, and I'm not sure if I got this right or not. This bread is supposed to have a specific design. You're meant to take the fork and draw some lines across it, and it should end up with a nice, like, checkered pattern. And I tried to do that here. You know, if you're going to do this, be nice and gentle. Run your fork at least twice across each line. I think I may have had too much poppy seeds on it. It didn't come out as I imagined it in my mind. But anyway, it tasted the way it should have. So pop it in the oven, 25 to 30 minutes. Once it's nicely puffed up and golden brown all over, it's ready. Well, now you can see the pattern, kind of. There's one more thing I'm gonna do. This is optional, but you can grab a piece of butter and just rub it on the loaf. This will make it even richer and shinier than what it is. You could also brush it with some oil, or leave it as it is, leave it plain. But that's how we make Azerbaijani milk bread. It is super simple, it's really tasty, it's got great soft texture, and it can have many different uses. It can be eaten on its own, perhaps with some sweet tea on the side. It'll make the perfect sandwich bread. And you could take this dough and turn it into awesome burger buns. So what do you reckon to this bread? Have you tried something like this before? Do you know any other Azerbaijani breads? Let me know down in the comments. And if you have any questions or suggestions, also let me know. Check out the other episodes in the Baking World Tour. I have many interesting and unique breads already, and there's more coming. And of course, click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Because if you love bread and baking, you've come to the right place. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.